Good evening. We have something very special for you guys. We've done this a couple times here already, and me and some of the girls sometimes go out once a month to go check out some of the local slam poetry artists who we have here today for you guys. So I just want everybody to be open-minded and really listen, because there's going to be a message here tonight, yeah? So first of all, I would like to introduce Connie D. Dedona. She is an author, a poet, and a slam poet. She first appeared at First Thursday's Fresh Cafe Poetry Slam hosted by Kealoha in October 2010, where she wowed the judges with her poem, I Want to Be a Poet. She is an art and letters executive member of the National League of American Pen Women in Honolulu and recognized self-published author of Letters to a Prisoner by Connie D. Letters to a Prisoner received an honorable mention in poetry at the 2011 New York Book Festival. It is required reading at Habilitat, the place of change. Published in Rainbird, Windward Community College's award-winning annual journal since 2008, her poems and photography have also been published in various print and online literary journals. She is currently working on a children's book. So without further ado, please welcome Connie D.
They say that art will weigh heavy on their plate, that they have to scale back, that art will have to wait. Maybe things will change sometime down the pike. Maybe hell will freeze or just go take a hike. The world without a poem is going to suck big time. Admit it. Can you face this world without a rhyme? So listen, mister, please have a little heart and contemplate my drift. Let's save a place for art. Because if you take the art out of E-A-R-T-H, all that's left are two letters. All that's left is that. They want to get back to basics. They still don't know the way. They think that Aristotle and Plato played with clay. But the world without their thinking, without their art, is that. They think that science rules, that religion will save the day, that man can live on mere hard work, but that is not his way. For man is only human and needs to chill and play, and people, let us face it, without art, the earth is just that. So let us break it down and investigate today, finding new solutions for our external fray, and promote this dialogue versus placing limits on the arts, okay? They say that art is an act for people on the fringe, retards, creeps, and losers waiting to unhinge. But we are not the nihilists on the periphery. We are not in season or zombie meat delivery. Understand? Language is an art. It must be understood and cannot be taken for granted, teaching us not only a love of words, but a love of logic, to frame the argument, add up our influence, and lessen events beyond our control, to translate the sea of language in which our minds swim, to plug into our power, our humanity, into what separates us from the apes, our evolution throughout the ages, to be the conscience, make intelligent choices, to define our place in nature, not apart from it. Nature, the greatest social network, to carry out the critical thinking required to deal with planetary issues like global warming, invasive species, and white coral disease, to discuss our addiction to plastic, fossil fuel, and waste. We need to emerge as the authentic heroes and heroines of our own human story. Our language must go on. We must continue to create, educate, and relate, because the earth without art is that. I brought my friend. I don't know if, can you see him? I was going to wear this as a hat, but I decided to just put him up over there. I'm going to talk to you for a couple of minutes about my thoughts on the environment and the way I see things. I have a confession. I am not a tree hugger. I don't work for Greenpeace, and I am not a scientist by any stretch of the imagination. I still use plastic, and I have stock in 2-ply toilet paper. So why should I care about the Earth's oceans, my carbon footprint, how many times a day I turn off the lights, use eco-friendly products, or flush the toilet? You know, the wastewater spiraling down the drain. Where does it go? And what happens when our wastewater treatment systems fail? Is the reef our leach field? The ocean our sewer? Nah, the ocean's huge. Besides, didn't they just add another super sucker in Connie Bay? Throw in some sea urchins to eat all that algae? I think of my neighbor, the farmer, who goes out to fertilize his fields. He uses Dow chemicals. Every so often, he needs to spray for weeds. And if he sprays too close to my property, about a week or so later, I have hundreds of dead tilapia floating belly up in my ponds. This goes on for days. Doesn't happen anymore. It used to. The runoff goes into Waihe'i Stream and out into the ocean. Monsanto is experimenting with GMO, doing open field tests and seed corn production on the North Shore. They are experimenting with over 70 different chemicals on a daily basis. Where do those chemicals go? And where can the fish go to file a complaint? Should they contact their local fish DLUNR? You know, the Department of Land, Water, and Unnatural Resources? Should they set up a summit, send in a delegation of hammerheads to convince the powers that be that the reef is not another human dump site or a waste station for a clever artist? All that runoff and waste. I know. Let's force feed it to the uhu. He's a bottom dweller. He'll eat anything. Should we tell him that the uhu have left the hood, that most were speared by the human upstairs, that the reef is being smothered by invasive algae due to a failed experiment, and because the reef fish have left the habitat due to overfishing, that they've discovered white coral disease off of Kauai, that it is spreading at an alarming rate? I just saw a movie the other day entitled Big Miracle. It was released in 2012. Hang out there, will you? Stay with me for a little while. Set in 1988 in Barrow, Alaska, it is based on the true story of how people and countries can come together to save a family of 3 California gray whales trapped 5 miles inside the Arctic Circle, of how they overcame sub-zero temperatures and an impenetrable wall of ice, of how the press and Greenpeace came together to push the politicians to do the right thing, win over the people, and convince the native whale hunters that the world was watching. How would you behave if you knew the world was watching? Here in the US, we have choices and rights, unlike those fish or the coral. And what is our tipping point? The earth will go on, as George Carlin so aptly put it. We are the ones that are screwed. It seems that, like it or not, we humans have become a major force in shaping our world. Let's take Venus as an example, Earth's evil twin. Let's talk about climate change and the runaway greenhouse effect, and imagine the Earth becoming more and more like its twin Venus. Scared yet? Now, this is an extreme example, right? This won't happen anytime soon. But don't take global warming for granted either, because climate physics are playing out. They even have a name for it. The Anthropocene is an informal geologic chronological term that serves to mark the evidence and extent of human activities that have had a significant global impact on the Earth's ecosystems. In order to move beyond the Anthropocene, we're going to have to control climate. We're going to have to become planetary managers. The universe is vast and very old. There must be other intelligent species out there. We could learn from them, discover another Xanadu. We need to think of ourselves as a planetary entity, and we are not used to thinking of ourselves that way. And what happens if we keep this up? Within the next 40 years, all of the planet's reefs will be affected. We will lose our way of life. We will lose our tourism, the jobs and income that it brings. Coral reefs are havens of biodiversity. Medicines for HIV, cancer, and malaria are derived from reefs. We have disrupted their ecosystem with our farms, our industry, and our coastal development. Turtle Bay. Speaking as a mom, I feel that it is my responsibility to leave behind a legacy of hope and sustainability. A year ago, Tom and I installed a photovoltaic system on our roof. We are now solar energy collectors for Hawaiian Electric. Our bill is cut in half, and in the summer as low as $16 a month. We also purchased an electric car and a charging system. A full charge is good for 100 miles. Most parking, including on-street, is free. I can drive in the HOV lane during rush hour alone, and I never have to buy gasoline again. We turn off lights and fans when we leave a room. I only turn on the dishwasher when it is full. I hang my towels on the line to air dry. I have a timer in my hot water heater. We recycle glass, plastic, and aluminum. And I have some cloth shopping bags in my trunk. The changes are going to have to come from each of us. Maybe I am a tree hugger. Thank you. From Chicago, Illinois, please welcome Sarah S.
I moved to this beautiful Aina 26 months and 12 days ago, and all I see is beauty, but beauty that only used to be, you see, because you have to look very closely. Closely because everything is changing like that tiny little caterpillar into that big, gorgeous butterfly, except a lot less, well, pretty. I see all the bradas in their Defend Hawaii t-shirts, and I think, right on, brah, defending Hawaii and all her sovereignty. But then I look very closely. And what cause? Defend Hawaii while I stay bumping my sounds in my SUV, guzzling all the gas, smoking my cigarettes, and tossing the butts out the car. Yeah, defend Hawaii and all her sovereignty. But listen, and listen closely. Defend the CEOs at Turtle Bay, changing the shoreline. Defend Hanauma Bay and all of its maleficent tourists. Defend the $15 it costs to see the nature of Waimea Valley. But the nature of the problem is that nature should always be free. Defend Hawaii and all her sovereignty. Defend Waikiki Beach because that shit looks great with all that rubbish. And defend that dying reef of Kaneohe Bay. Defend Hawaii, at least that's what they say. Defend Kirk Caldwell and his $1 trillion rail. Defend all the squirrely politicians when all else fails. But please, please, defend Hawaii and all of her sovereignty. So come up, pull up a chair, have a sat. Chit-chat, I know what you're thinking. This girl, she's from Chicago, but what does she care? Does it matter? Because, well, I'm Kama Aina now, and I live here. And if you do nothing, oh God, okay, doesn't matter, I'm Kama'aina now and I live here. And like I learned at age 6, that this land is your land, this land is my land. And it shouldn't matter if I'm from here or there, because the bigger picture is this goes on everywhere, worldwide. The E. coli on the shores of Lake Michigan, the BP oil spill in the Gulf of Mexico, and LA, enough said. Slowly, the ice caps fade, waters are warming, the unapologetic claim without warning simply because it doesn't apply to them. The Iroquois natives had it right, that in every deliberation we must consider the impact of our decisions on the next 7 generations. So take heed to this message and stand up and be counted, because your generation number 1 and number 7 is in need. If you do nothing, you are doing something. If you do nothing, you are still doing something. And if you do nothing, then you're part of the problem. It's really never too late to do the next right thing. So defend the beauty that really still could be. Defend Hawaii and all of her sovereignty.
Good job. Good job. Next up, from the Big Island, OCG.
Chapter 1, the ocean, beautiful and blue. At the beginning, she was new. As time drastically changed, she became full of rage. Deep depths of trash, across the globe, ocean waves crash. The very ones who ripped her at the streams, afraid of her terror. She's taking from them what they bought. Tidal waves and hurricanes, she can't be maintained. Her beauty's at stake. It's too late. Chapter 2, far across the sea, such elegance only a few can see. Green grass and blue skies, they've been there for generations. They were free, running wild like the child inside me. Now brittle and weak, drinking from a poisonous creek. Body full of sores, we could have given them more. They've been through it all, and they've watched the valley fall. In the sky, massive amounts of pollution floating around so high. Watch out, world, this is the next revolution. These things this next generation shouldn't have to see. Take it from me, this is the end of chapter 3.
Next up, from Chicago, Shannon N.
This poem is entitled Flesh and Bone. You and me, mothers and fathers, brothers and sisters, children and all loved ones, are all made of flesh and bone. Their souls expand and stretch into every cell in our being. Their love and self manifests into our physical stance we call people. Flesh and bone, the very basic essence of us, eventually becomes dirt and earth. That very dirt and earth becomes flora and fauna. Flora and fauna become flesh and bone, and the circle keeps turning. The love and care we show our family needs to be shown to our dirt, earth, flora, and fauna. Our grandmothers, that smooth, soft hand that helped us up on our feet when we fell from our bikes. The hand that soothed us when we cried. That hand becomes that glistening rose on the bush, blooming, outstretching its beauty for all to see. Our sister's face, the one we looked at when we had our hard times. That face is reflected in the climbing branches of that oak tree we pass by every morning, strong yet flexible, always changing. To love our loved ones is to love our earth, and to love our earth is to love ourselves. And then the circle will keep turning. Flesh and bone, dirt and earth, flora and fauna, flesh and bone.
Next up from IAEA, Mark B.
All right, how's it going, family? Okay, this poem is entitled Splendor. Glimpsing at the beautiful cascades, timeless as it seems, it runs downstream. Stretching its arms across the land, it captains everything around me. Running through the fields of green I go as my adventure begins. I stop in awe, admiring nature and all of it has to offer. As I stand there in silence, a whole new world has opened. I want you all to pay attention to the lyrics, okay? This was made popular by Vanessa Williams, Colors of the Wind. If you pay attention, this song actually talks about what we are trying to say today, okay? You think you own whatever land you land on. The earth is just a dead thing you can claim. But I know every rock and tree and creature has a life, has a spirit, has a name. You think the only people who are people are the people who look and think like you. But if you walk the footsteps of a stranger, you learn things you never knew, you never knew. Have you ever heard the wolf cry to the blue corn moon? Or asked the grinning bobcat why he grinned? Can you sing with all the voices of the mountain? Can you paint with all the colors of the wind? Can you paint with all the colors of the wind? Come run the hidden pine trails of the forest. Come taste the sun-sweet berries of the earth. Come rolling on the riches all around you. And for once, never wondered what they're worth. The rainstorm and the river are my brothers. The heron and the otter are my friends. And we're all connected to each other in a circle, in a hoop that never ends. Have you ever heard the wolf cry to the blue corn moon? Or let the eagle tell you where he's been? Can you sing with all the voices of the mountain? Can you paint with all the colors of the wind? Can you paint with all the colors of the wind? How high does the sycamore grow? If you cut it down, then you'll never know. Then you'll never hear the wolf cry to the blue corn moon. Oh, whether we are white or copper skinned, we need to sing with all the voices of the mountain. Can you paint with all the colors of the wind? You can own the earth and still, but you own this earth until you can paint with all the colors of the wind.
Yeah! Woo! Woo! Awesome. Woo!
Oh, he's not done yet. He's not done yet, you guys. He's not
Okay,
done yet.
all right.
You know, some of us don't even wonder or even care the worth of the beauty we actually live in. Yet we destroy what has been given to us. Do we even care enough to see what is in front of us? We have to start. Otherwise, existence will never see tomorrow. Do yourself a favor. Do your part. Enjoy life. Don't waste.
Yes. Awesome job. got some real talent here. Marcia Zena Major is an author, journalist, poet, award-winning mixed media artist, as well as a performance artist. She has performed at Fresh Cafe's First Thursday Slam events, Aloha Tower Marketplace, HPU in the venue. She studied improv with Academy Award-winning actor Alan Arkin and at Chinatown's Laugh Track Theater. Her most recent creative project, a performance piece entitled Who the Bleep Am I?, is a personal, poetic, musical, humorous, and serious exploration of true identity and has been performed at venues around Honolulu such as Ward Raptors and the Arts at Mark's Garage. Her newest book is The Hidden Kingdom, Discovering the Divine Presence in Nature. Please welcome Marcia Zena Major. Can I move this one? Yeah.
So aloha, I just wrote this last night and today, so I wish I could look at you more if it was memorized, but it's not memorized. This is titled, The First Rule of Life-Saving. When I was 16, I took a life-saving class. It kicked my ass. I swam hundreds of laps in an ice-cold New Hampshire lake, made lots of stupid mistakes, almost drowned numerous times, shivered and quivered, whined and complained, swam laps in the dark while it stormed and it rained. But in the end, I passed the damn class, and the one thing I retained despite the cramps and the pain, the hunger and thirst, was the first and most important rule of life-saving. Save yourself first. When I was 19, a 100-pound girl, I was pretty naive, didn't know much of the world, got hired as a bona fide lifeguard for a New York City hotel, sunned myself by the pool. Things were going damn well until a 350-pound man panicked in the deep end of the pool, and I forgot all I learned. I leaped in like the world's biggest fool, ignored all I'd been told. A panicked swimmer will choke you in a life-threatening hold, will kill to survive. So to stay very alive, I should extend a long pole or toss something that floats. Otherwise, the big panicked guy can squeeze his fat, frightened hands around my dumb, slender throat. But despite all this knowledge, I jumped in 6 inches from his terrified face. Yet by some act of grace, and I swear this is true, we both lived through the moment, which I'm now sharing with you. But what, in the name of Whole Foods, does this have to do with the environment? With helping the reefs and the seas, endangered birds and rainforest trees? Stay with me, please. Don't get all out of joint. I promise, eventually, we will get to the point. Now, it's a noble, just quest to proclaim with genuine passion and zest, save the earth now. Wow, that's a bold, righteous notion that requires strong acts, strong beliefs. Otherwise, how in the world can you possibly save the vast oceans, the fish, and the reefs? To try and answer that question, let's take a much broader view. Go down a less traveled road where we may uncover something surprisingly new. So, here's the provocative query, and it may leave you weary. How many centuries have we been hurting and killing? You can bet the statistics are chilling. How many centuries have we human beings been plundering and slaying, raping, betraying, stealing, and thieving, causing suffering and grieving? What's different now? Have we, humanity, fundamentally changed? Sure we have, we all all say, it's a new world, a new day, 24/7. We can talk, interact, and engage. We're different now. We've entered the high-tech, sophisticated, illuminated, 5-star rated 21st century technological age. Now tweets can launch revolutions. Titanium legs can run for Olympian gold. This is true evolution, no question. Case closed. Now we have iPads and iPhones, robots and sky drones. We can text WTF, go to hell, join chat rooms where people argue and yell. Now kids can blow people's heads off in an Xbox virtual dream. Now we can drop bombs on Iraq with an LED 72-inch high-res touchscreen. So I ask again, what's different now? In this technological age, have we, humanity, fundamentally changed? What will it take for human beings to create long-lasting peace? What will it take for suffering to once and all cease? What will it take for mankind to uplift, to inspire, uplift? What will it take for us to make this much-needed shift? What it takes, say the masters, the enlightened sages of old, is to embody a truth that is simple yet bold. How can we possibly save the birds and the trees, the fish and the seas, the sky and the land when we don't understand a truth all the wisest ones share? That everything, absolutely everything, positively everything, undeniably everything begins right inside here. Now, what the hell does that mean? Haven't we heard this before, this New Age hippie crap we in secret deplore? Is this some kind of joke? Are you saying that I am solely responsible for recycling every damn can of Red Bull and Coke? That I have to personally fly to the Amazon and lay myself down in the path of the bulldozer and chainsaws, that it comes down to my own flabby ass? I just don't understand. Is it up to me to stop the environmental destruction all over the land? Well, sort of. But it takes absolutely no money, no external power at all, yet it demands a much deeper action, listening to a quieter, more powerful call. So, take a deep breath, relax, become a little more still. Here's the point of this long-winded poem, to do with as you will. It's so much easier to march and wave a big sign, to chant politically correct slogans and rhyme, to join crowds on Earth Day, to proclaim organic sprouts are the way. It's so much easier to point fingers of shame. They are the unconscious ones. They are to blame. It's so much easier to glare at corporate giants and feel righteously defiant, to stare at the inordinately rich and mutter under our breath, that's one wealthy bitch, to say they are to blame for Earth's ills and her woes, for toxic seas, tainted soil, global warming, GMOs. But all the great masters and sages all through the ages keep pointing us away from the lies, telling us we must instead look inside. In other words, they insist, when it's all said and done, be they foe, friend, or brother, actually, there can be no other. There is only one life, one energy, one being, one grand way of seeing. In other words, it doesn't work to recycle the paper and bottles you're using while resenting your neighbor next door for refusing. It doesn't work to march against the destruction of forests as your life's holy cause while hating the men driving bulldozers and wielding chainsaws. It doesn't work to spend your whole life trying to keep oceans blue if you can't forgive your ex-wife or the father that walked out on you. In fact, if you can't feel true mercy for British Petroleum CEO, there's no hope for our planet. There's nowhere to go. Because we are all made from one cloth, we got to think outside the box. I know it's a confusing idea, a profound paradox, but the world is one fabric. The threads connect everywhere. All the events, all the people live deep inside here. In other words, it just doesn't work to love your shoulders or the shape of your eyes while you secretly hate your round ass and your wide dimpled thighs. It's time to lean into the truth and away from the lies. One body, one planet, one heart, loving and wise. I am the earth I am trying to save. I am the endangered species threatening to disappear from the face of the planet. I am the torn ozone layer. I am the tainted soil. But this deep understanding cannot be just an intellectual thing. It's got to be born deep in my cells, a truth my whole body sings. I am the earth I am trying to save. I am the African poacher, as well as the fallen hippo, lonely and brave. I am the oceans, polluted and bleak. I am the tanker, crashed on the reef. Because if it doesn't start here, we're clean out of luck. Because if it's not born in here, we're pretty much fucked. But let's take a moment and get real and gritty. How do we do this on the days we feel shitty? I don't know. I'm not yet enlightened, and at times I wake up and I'm more than a little bit frightened. But the good news is I don't need to be educated. I don't need to be wealthy or celebrated. I only need to be humble and dedicated to the practice of stillness, which has been way underrated. And I know in my soul that what I'm saying is true, and I suspect with great joy that deep inside, so do you. So before we try to rescue this planet, to stop the damage from getting much worse, remember the first rule of life-saving. Please, save yourself first.
Okay, first of all, thank you for agreeing to come and share your poetry. What do you think about poetry being taught in prisons and rehabs?
I think it's a great thing. I mean, poetry is really about just expressing yourself and what's deep down inside. And I think just getting it all out and being honest and truthful with your words is, I mean, come on, that's the best therapy. I mean, for me, that's therapy. So I assume that it would be therapy for everybody. As I said, for my thoughts on coastal development, you know, I mean, I just think we should try and preserve as much as we can and not develop as much as possible, you know? I mean, like, in the ideal situation, I mean, there's so much concrete on this island already and on the other islands as well. Let's, like, keep to that, you know? That way we can keep country and just do our thing. Do I think that Monsanto should be doing GMO open field testing? Absolutely not. I mean, come on. When we talk about biology, I mean, when like cross-contamination is real, and GMO is an untested entity, and we don't know what it's going to lead to in the future. You know, I mean, like, it's taken millions and millions of years of evolution for species to like come into what they are. And to like tamper with that in the course of years is unwise, I think, without like truly understanding what we're doing. The legacy that I would like to leave for my son is, I mean, I just want to be a good dad and like give him happiness as much as possible, and like and the ability to think for himself and make decisions and just rock, you know. I mean, that's the legacy, is like you know, here kid, rock. Well, I host a poetry slam every first Thursday of the month at Fresh Cafe, which is at 831 Queen Street. It's at 8:30 p.m. And I mean, that's the place to come if you want to find out more about like what's going on in the slam poetry world. Yeah, I'm just inspired to share and just to hear and to learn and to just be in the world of thought and consciousness. So and thank you, Connie, for inviting me. You know, like it's what we do. It's what we do.
Is there any?
Kealoha is the first poet laureate of Hawaii. As an internationally acclaimed poet and storyteller, he has performed throughout the world, from the White House to the Iolani Palace, from Brazil to Switzerland. He is the first poet in Hawaii's history to perform at a governor's inauguration. And in 2010, he was selected as a master artist for a National Endowment for the Arts program. In the 7 years that he has represented Hawaii at the National Poetry Slam, he has performed on the final stage 4 times, was ranked in the top 10 of the nation's best poets in 2007, and was honored as a National Slam Legend in 2010. Kealoha was featured on HBO's Brave New Voices series presented by Russell Simmons, and he has performed at hundreds of live venues throughout the world, including the Schiffbau in Zurich, Switzerland, the Bienal do Ibirapuera in Sao Paulo, Brazil. I hope I pronounced that right. The NFL Pro Bowl halftime show and the National Storytelling Network Conference. He is the poetic vocalist for Henry Kapono's Wild Hawaiian Project, nominated for a Grammy, and has served as Hawaii's Slam Master since 2003. Kealoha is the founder of Hawaii Slam, Youth Speaks Hawaii, 2-time international champions, and First Thursdays, the largest registered poetry slam in the world, with 500 plus in attendance. He graduated with honors from MIT with a degree in nuclear physics and a minor in writing. He served as a business consultant in San Francisco and played around as a surf instructor prior to becoming a professional poet in 2002. Please help me welcome Kealoha.
You read the whole. How y'all doing? All right. Let's start like this. I want to do a couple of poems, maybe a few poems. This first one is: I'm free falling into the abyss of me. Again. A soul's journey is singular, too often confined by the limitations of small minds, and though my thought patterns scatter, they're inherently entwined. And my sense of independence is once again making sense, and since I've got one life to live, I'm making sure that each moment is right. I mean, I've chosen to live this life. I've persisted in this existence, and I've resisted these outside forces to maximize my outcome, and I've come so far, revealing revelations during times of discontent, and I've connected the dots of experience to form pretty pictures, and I've experimented with ancient scriptures to modern-day portrayals of the universe, and I've searched and searched, but realized that even the holiest of the holy have no more of an idea why we've been put here. And I've stuck my ear to the ground and found that even Mother Nature, well, she has no clue, but she loves to garden. And I love to flower, blossoming into nothing more than an expression of the earth itself. I define wealth by the richness of my experience, and my roots insist that there's reason for me to exist, and my roots insist that there's reason for me to exist, and my roots insist that there's reason for me to exist. And I've dug my hands deep into the soil to find pure joy, and I've cried with tears boiling on my hands, hot with my emotional essence, and I've struggled through depression to learn lessons like depression depends on me. It does not exist unless I insist that it does. This is the same for love. And so I've chosen to live in a constant state of love and thus
purpose was born. And I'm no longer torn with why I've insisted on existing. I just simply exist. And through this realization, a new day has come. Moons rise, time flies with each song sung in my eyes. They see clarity for the first time again. I see friends, lovers, and souls that know no time. I see eternity temporarily locked in the confines of minds. I see eyes staring back at me, and I feel at one, wanting nothing more than to feel connected with everything around me, reflecting the essence of who I be. A cog in this cognitive collective, cognizant of my place, racing humanity, which is really me racing me seeing me being me. Yeah. One in 7 billion. 7 billion connected to one through mental processes. We see each other in dreams. That I staring at you is mine, and that you that defines you is I. We are all one. We have transcended the space-time continuum. Individuals under the umbrella of a whole. Coals feeding the fire of a soul. The soul linking and uniting other coals. Knowing this, we persist predisposed. Exposed skin, transcending tongues, mother, countries imploding from within, with a blunt realization that we are kin to human consciousness. We are all brothers, sisters, mothers, fathers, daughters, sons to each other. We are all one. Thank you. Okay, so lately, I've been doing a lot of gardening, digging my hands in the soil, and it's been really refreshing. And we've been growing lilikoi and banana and papaya and mango and avocado, basically all my favorites, yeah. Because I feel like we should be planting things that we want to eat. So this piece is about that. We've been growing a garden around our place. We don't have much space, but we've been working the soil beneath our feet, watching the green sprout over the concrete, watching the vines rewrite the graffiti on the walls. And we know that this garden is a simple symbol. There is so much more to be done in this world, and sometimes it gets overwhelming, but we're taking responsibility for what we can control. And so we're starting by planting seeds and caretaking, making the ecosystem thrive, watching the earth come alive, reflecting on the way we're living our daily lives. See, we've been growing a garden over time, so when we step outside, we can visualize what green energy looks like, to remind ourselves that we are no different from the trees, that all the energy we need can come from the sun, the wind, the sea, and the infinite warmth of geothermal heat. And we know that another world is possible, that no matter how hopeless any one of us feels, this movement is real, that our convictions lead to legislation, lead to conservation, that technology must serve ecology. And so this garden is how we redefine the boundary lines between us and the global community. We have come to learn that there is no separation, that every nation on this blue planet is symbiotically fused, that everything we do affects some part of you, so we've been inspired to limit our impact, leave our surroundings better off than when we arrived. We have vowed to reverse the destructive tide before we die. We've been growing a garden for our children, teaching them to caretake what they've been given, showing them to, we've been growing a garden for our children, leaving a better world for them to live in, teaching them to caretake what they've been given, show them to take a stand for sustainability, how to find the balance between progress and preservation, guide the way to a self-reliant revolution. You see, this garden is for our children. This garden is our pledge to them. Right on, that's it.
Yeah.
And I thought I'd leave you guys with one last piece. This is a true story. I try to spend as much time as I can out in the outside. And this piece, for a while during my life, I was like going to the beach a lot, and I always used to have like a red rubber, you know, those kickballs, those red rubber kickballs. I used to take those around and just like, play with it and float around with it, and you know, anytime anybody saw me, they'd be like, oh my gosh, a red rubber ball, and we'd play like 4 squares or kickball or whatever. So this piece is me coming out of the ocean with one of those red rubber balls. I was coming out of the ocean, approaching the showers, minding my own business, when I met this kid. He must have been about 1 to 2, walking but not talking yet, completely naked, skin soon to be brown but as of now completely unexposed. So he's looking at me. And I look back. He stares intently at the red rubber ball in my hands, all wide-eyed, and I'm like, oh, you want this ball. He immediately grabs it, bounces it, and giggles. He just tickled his own imagination, and I continue on my business, shower up as if to say, hey, you go play with that ball for a bit. He runs off. His mama calls to him, Makana, be careful. And I'm thinking to myself, Makana? Yeah, Makana means gift. And I continue on my business, but this kid is captivating me. He's expressing pure joy without words as he hurls the ball with all his might to keep him in my sight as sand swishes off my feet, and I'm double, and then I'll hold up triple, rinsing my hair, which I never really do, but I'm doing all that I can to stall. I just want him to experience that ball. And by the 5th rinse, it's time for me to go, and I know, it's going to be difficult for me to get that ball back. But he throws it to me, appreciative of the time. And at this point, I'm having a very hard time leaving, so I roll the ball back. He picks it up, bounces it for a second, then checks it back to me. It now seems as if we've got game, so I stay in. We play back and forth, back in, for a bit. But then he stops, drops the ball, it rolls off, and he holds out his hand. Well, knowing me, I go get the ball, then I go to give him 5, but realize that that's not what he's trying to communicate. He looks sad. Or in pain. Yeah, this is pain, because I see a pokey pricking into his finger. I barely even touch it, but he reacts automatically, shudders dramatically, and yet he still stands with his hand out. You see, he trusts me with this pokey. So I'm thinking to myself, I've got to do this quick, otherwise we're both in deep doo-doo, because the skin is like tissue, it's ridiculously sensitive and pokies. They freaking hurt, y'all. And his eyes are peering into mine with pure trust, you see. He hasn't yet been sworn into a childhood of don't talk to strangers, they're dangerous villains out to get you. He hasn't had time to learn how to ignore the rest of his community as his day passes by. He hasn't learned the societal nonsense. He's simply being as his heart tells him to be, trusting of me. And he's open and standing, and I'm asking his mama, who's 5 feet away, hey, it's okay. She smiles and nods yes. She gives me the go-ahead, and so I go. I take a deep breath, and a once move, I grab and pull simultaneously. His body twitches temporarily, but the worst is now over. And he looks, and he smiles, and I nearly cry. You see, this is the essence of existence. He goes to pick up the ball as if to play again, but our time has come to an end, and my new friend is wondering where I'm wandering as I walk away, slowly saying, Makana, you can have the ball. And for me, it was a small price to pay for a brief lesson of essence. Thank you. Mahalo.